You know, most men really spread themselves too thin. They chase every opportunity. They fight every battle. They feel like they have to fight every battle. They yield to every distraction. But I always live by principles. I love principles, learning principles, first principles, models of thinking, because principles are principles because they always work, right? Um, got the Pareto principle, which I like. Pareto principle is the commonly known as the 80-20 rule. The truth that 80% of results come from 20% of efforts. And that's just a illustration or insight into the fact that it's the truth that 80% of results come from 20% of efforts in any endeavor, in any arena, in any case. Okay, mastery isn't about doing more; it's about choosing what really matters and executing with precision. Talked a lot, talked before about the mindset of a king, approaching life like it's a game of chess or whatever game that resonates with you. Right now, the principles of chess have really been resonating with me. Think of the king in chess. We talked about this before. He moves slowly, one square at a time, and he doesn't waste his energy darting around the board. Instead, he rules by position. I always like the word position. Okay, how to position. You know, uh, I was raised. I was raised basically mentored by pimps on a lot of levels. I've had mentors, a lot of mentors over my life, but a few of my major influences have actually been pimps or former pimps, right? And there's a lot of different, there's a few different acronyms, acrostics that people use for pimp. One I like is player in that position, right? Um, Positioning requires focus. It requires letting the pieces, your loyal subjects, carry out the bulk of the work. Most people, not most people, there are a certain percentage of people only just like to work. Now it's not easy to find people that are hard workers or good workers, but most people just like to be given instructions and told what to do. And you let them do that. Allow them to do that. Let them do that. Because everybody doesn't understand what it requires to be a king. King might look like they're not doing much, but the amount of discipline and strategy of the mind that is required of the king, most people can't deal with that. The king's presence, that mindset, that discipline that you cultivate over time as a king, that's your way of becoming more stable through the anchor for the entire game. Because without you as the king, there's nothing to fight for. Without that area of focus and that direction, there's nothing to fight for. Or you're fighting erroneously with no clear directions, no clarity. In life, being a sovereign man, I've been really sitting with the idea of being sovereign, meaning being self sufficient, being one who only has to answer to very few, really only to God, right? So that requires you to really narrow your focus. You can't be everywhere at once. You have to identify the 20% of actions that secure your throne, your health, secure your craft, your skills, your discipline, your vision, and then you guard them with a ferocity that is rare. Everything else is noise. Um, And then, like the king in chess, you an effective king doesn't treat their knights, their bishops, and pawns as disposable. A true leader doesn't treat his people as just employees. He sees them as partners. He respects them as partners. Everything starts and ends with respect. As a real effective king, they're partners in your mission. And everybody has a role to play. You can't buy their loyalty. It's inspired. And when you honor their value, they protect your throne. They protect your reign. They take an ownership in your reign as king. This applies to your relationship. Talked about the queen. A queen in chess moves with freedom and power in ways that the king simply cannot. He might be capable of it physically, but it makes no sense for him to move the way that the queen moves, right? In life, a wise man recognizes the same dynamic. You can't control your woman, you can't control your queen. You align with her if she's amenable and agreeable to your mission. And then you let her strengths cover ground that you can't. And your only job is to be steadfast and steady and provide the foundation that she can trust. A woman that feels safe and comfortable and feels like you're trustworthy, she can she can really make great things happen for you. With that, the game really shifts in your favor. So the Pareto principle, again, principles, 80-20, isn't just math. It's a formula for sovereignty. It's a formula for focus on the vital few. Say that again. It's a formula for focus on the vital few. It allows you to rule your board, so to speak, with clarity. It forces you, or it inclines you to lead with respect, because that's really the effective way to lead. Um, and then you align with people who magnify your strength. That's how a man, a manifester of awesome newness, a man plays to win, not by moving fast, but by moving with purpose. So that's all I have for you today. We'll talk more about the 80-20 principle in other ways, more practical ways. But peace and blessings.